Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BetSperts.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. Ready to talk a little football today, Andy? This is kind of a fun
miss the old league
primer.
Miss the old football league.
So last week we talked about some aspects of getting prepped for team strength, things like that, rookie impacts. Right? I'm not crazy.
Yeah. We talked little rookies.
Today, what we're going to do is we're not going to kind of make predictions on win totals. We're going to do something a little bit more novel, a little bit unexpected, something that you haven't heard us do on this podcast before, but something that is part of my process around this time of year every single year.
We can do whatever the fuck we want. It's our podcast.
That's right.
You just do what we want. It's the off season.
Yeah.
We are starting. I don't know where you are in the process.
Well, I'm doing this.
Getting ready, but
this is part of my process. Yeah.
I know this is like, because eventually we're going to get thrown. Suddenly you're going to wake up one day and you're going to have training camp reports and you're going to fall asleep that night. And you're going to wake up and it's going to be the Hall of Fame game. And suddenly you're going to be like, I'm not even sure I have numbers yet. I don't have oh my God, like who signed this guy? Where's Derrick Henry? I picked a running back. I don't know why I picked a running back. But like, there's a lot of, all the free agent moves, all the rookie additions, like 14 different offensive coordinators. Like, there's a lot to catch up on and a lot to get ready for if you want to make your numbers to prep for the season. And it's a lot of thinking about these teams. And I think we're going to do a little thinking out loud about teams today.
Yeah, and the theme of today's podcast, we're going to go through all of the current win totals. We're using circa numbers as of an hour before this pod. And a couple of things that we want to kind of point out here. We're not saying this is the right bet over or under. This part of my process is literally just trying to make a gauge or a guess at what market sentiment is going to be between now and when I actually make these bets on these teams, if I even bet anything, right? And I think this is kind of an unstated part of the process, but as you know, we kind of preach market entry to the point of exhaustion. And if you haven't heard us say it before, like, it's as important to kind of decide when to get your action as it is to kind of decide what you're taking action on, particularly with these preseason things where you're locking up capital for 8 months. So, this exercise really is just to kind of gauge, what we think the direction of movement on the win totals is going to be now that we have schedules, now that people are going to start actually putting liquidity into these markets. And obviously, it's maybe before even kind of going through here, hot or not list. Yes.
Remember hot or not?
Yes. That's kind of exactly what we're going to be
definitely
doing.
Uploaded a photo to that in like 8th grade.
But yeah, before we kind of go through them, we're going to go through them and from market expected most to least. We're going to talk through some of the, kind of details of how we're going to grade, how we're going to rate these. But before going there, off the top of your head, what are some of the things that you think about when it comes to what will influence the win total, aside from the obvious, like an injury or a weird signing?
Yeah, and we talked a little about that off air. Like, there's going to be something that happens during camp, most likely. Honestly, for the last few years, it seems to have been Joe Burrow, but there's going to be something Burrow-esque.
You're stealing my material here, man.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I think
when we got to Cincinnati, I was literally going to say, well, Cincinnati's going to go down because Burrow's going to get hurt on day one.
I know, but we did want to kind of put that aside because like that sort of stuff is not something maybe we can predict it with Cincinnati just because we have a run rate here, but that sort of stuff isn't predictable. And we're not going to be able to, figure out market directionality if one of the top half of the league quarterbacks gets hurt, because that is severely going to, matter for a power rating standpoint, especially with some of the backups we have in this league. But I mean, a lot of the moves you'll see it seems to just be, I hate to say it is a little predictive, but I do watch it because.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's certainly, I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about, how these get bet and how, like everybody loves the Lions last year. Or, there's this team who's the darling of the summer. I put that on the thumbnail.
Packers, maybe.
Packers are probably a good candidate. We'll kind of talk about this. It's like, who's our summer winners? But like, guess what? The public money, maybe it's enough to move it, but there is actual people with opinions who are saying, here's where my power ratings are. I'm a good NFL originator. I have a lot of money. I'm going to invest in this because I think this is a good way to get down, aside from how I'm going to bet week to week. And the ones that move probably mean that, whoever set these to begin with, their power ratings were just a little bit low on that team, or, perhaps a little bit high on, maybe half the teams that team plays. Maybe they're high on everybody else in the division. So like these directional moves from open until we get into the preseason, they definitely matter, and they should help. They should help shape your numbers. They should help shape your power ratings when you look. Because it's funny, I hadn't thought of doing this yet, but I pulled up my end of the year numbers. I looked at them a couple weeks ago, and I just pulled them into a spreadsheet that I'm working on now for that. But I hadn't really looked at them, and it'll be interesting to see what my probably in about 2 weeks I'm going to have soft numbers that I'm happy with. But obviously those won't be the ones we go into the season with. So I'm kind of curious. I don't think I've tracked that in the past where it's like, what were my spring numbers compared to my actual fall numbers? Because I've never cared. I've never really thought about that. Like, what the fuck does it matter what my May numbers were? They were wrong. Like, I adjusted them for a reason. I moved them because of, what we're seeing from the coaching changes, the quarterback play, where I think, like the Packers were a good one where it's like if you believed in them last year, they're going to come up a lot today and over the course of the summer. Like, you had to either have some faith in that young nucleus on offense or you didn't. And I think there were some very different numbers in the market from, place to place, person to person.
You're
in the Packers.
absolutely correct.
That's a good one too for, I want to talk directionality, and we want to kind of talk about where we think the market sentiment will be on some of these teams. And there's going to be 20 teams where we don't have strong opinions. But like, this is probably pretty close. Who knows? I'm not going to guess on all 32 teams. It's boring. I mean, we will. I mean, we probably will.
Well, we'll set the rules because we're going to classify three categories. Either either the number goes up, goes down, or it stays or a hold. Yeah, like hold. And the hold stays within about 25 cents of the current VIG.
But I'm saying like there's going to be a bunch where they probably stay pretty close. There's going to be about 10 where I have strong feelings. Yeah, either. Okay. I think, or I believe the general sentiment thinks, but definitely it's interesting because I don't know, there is these summer teams every year, and a lot of it is, we do this, we crowned them in the summer, but like somebody's putting some money into this market. Yeah. Like it's not just the talking heads like this team and a bunch of public put $50 a pop on regular season win totals. Like somebody likes this team. Somebody is, or somebody's does like a team like this.
Yeah. And so I guess there's kind of three categories of win total moves in this particular market of Circa, right? There are win total moves at legal shops that are noise. There are people arbing stuff, who knows? But I think looking at the current limits and Circa's just in general kind of entrenched dominance of the, sharp NFL pools, I think that's where you want to look. And they came up with win totals and juice everywhere on the 14th. And then they have updated them since the schedule's moved. And I think other than a couple, they're all still within about 10 cents of where they opened before schedules, which is enjoyable. But the ones that were moved because of bets, I'm sure. I don't think it was because of schedule, but we'll get into those in a little bit. And I think, the moves off of the numbers there are going to come from their sharp players who are betting into these with conviction. And those players are going to bet into this with a conviction because of either their own modeling, their own numbers, which are either median derived or more likely derived distributions, right? They're coming up with distributions of outcomes, and they may be playing into a win total over or under because of a long tail either way, right? And, I think that plays into a lot of my decision-making for win totals for sure, because I tend to play into the alt markets anyway. And those are the ones where you want to get a little bit of a higher payday for capturing some of the wild variants, like the entire Packers team offense coming together as a young unit last year and what that meant to their win total, right? And so I think, the originators who are who are respected, who are playing there, are coming up with their fares, and they're shaping this market. And then there's information also shaping it, which we're not going to try to capture. Like, this guy got hurt, this guy got traded, this guy got signed. Sometimes that's a little bit opaque, right? Sometimes, like, wow, the team really needs a tackle. Oh, they just got the last good free agent tackle. Like, so it can be soft like that, as opposed to, oh, hey, this team is an obvious bet the under because their most important player on defense just tore his Achilles, or because their quarterback just pulled his calf, right? Like, those types of bets are obvious. So yeah, you're muted, Andy. You're muted. You're muted. You're not listening to me.
Sorry, I had to cough. I had to cough.
Yeah,
I like to mute for the coughs. I try to be polite, but and that's where too. There are some of these where you say, like, hey, this should go down. I'm lower on this team than the market. I'm not so sure the market is going to come in and say, this team is thin. There's some of these where I think that's where, over the last few years, that's where I've looked at alt unders.
Of course,
the most is like, hey,
long
this
tail
team,
of the under because of
Eric Eager had a good article about the linked chain systems.
Yeah,
just thinking about that from a standpoint of, it doesn't even have to be here's a bunch of offensive linemen who've been hurt. It can be a bunch of offensive linemen who've never really missed time, but they're getting up there, or it's just, hey, the backups are really bad, and this is a quarterback on this team who's not conducive to a system where he's, having to scramble, where he's getting uncomfortable. He's terrible under pressure. Like, if something were to happen to, this left tackle, like, basically you move their offensive line rating down 20 spots in the league, maybe Niners. That's I'm not saying playing alt under in the Niners, but it just kind of popped to mind as far as, like, some of these teams where, if you did have to go to backups, like, it's silly that one spot like that might mean multiple wins, but it could. And that's where, I don't think a lot of those move heavily, but those are the ones where you should be looking at it from an alt standpoint. Like, man, this team has a long tail to the under if a couple things go wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there are a couple quarterbacks whose rating is entirely contingent on the talent that's around them. There's no question. And if something happens to that talent, then that rating needs to get adjusted aggressively. But so one of the thing that I think information wise could move a number is just a better and clearer understanding of what a coaching staff is going to do at the starting quarterback position. Like, we don't really know what the Patriots are going to do this year. As that gets crystallized, you may see betting activity. And actually, interestingly enough, the second biggest mover so far at Circa is the Patriots to the under, which maybe thinks somebody has some conviction that Drake may
either way it's
call.
bad.
Either way it's bad, or that Drake may get the call, because that's
they might have done some tree modeling and looked, and it doesn't matter which branch we take. There's a flow chart and they all go to the same spot. It's like 5 wins.
Yeah. So that clarity about the team starting depth chart definitely will influence some of the stuff. There's one other thing.
I thought you were going a different way with that. When you veered into starting quarterback, and I brought it up already, is the breadth of how many new coaches, especially coaches that are calling plays. I think there's some teams where it is a bit of a holding pattern right now, but you need to understand, like, what is the Chargers offense going to be? That's I think once we get a good feel for, like, what the actual, philosophy of that offense is going to be, that makes a big difference to me, because if they try to go a couple of different routes, I don't think they have the personnel for it right now. So that and a couple other teams that have lost a few players here and there and have some new coaches, those are some interesting ones to me.
Okay. The other thing that can move a number that we didn't mention, besides just the sharper players putting their action into the market, is the kind of, like, well-respected touts, I guess, who are releasing stuff. Like, that will have a volume impact at this point. We've seen it now enough. I don't think that there is any denying that, like, the people who are, who are kind of betting into.
If you take the right angle into the market, you might see some movement based on volume.
Surely. And I think just in general, volume and kind of respect for a given service, releasing a pick is going to move some of these as well. So basically what we're doing today is guessing what the sharp players and what the respected touts, or as respected as a tout could be, I guess, what those two categories of players are going to do this year. Right? What are they going to do this summer? We're just guessing on that, really, which is a fun exercise, but it's all in the name of trying to get a good entry on the market. And the way we're going to do this, again, we've taken the circa win totals. We are taking the VIG out. So basically, if you have a -160 to the over, for instance, on the Chicago Bears at 8.5, we're converting that to 8.9 wins because -160 to the over, +140 to the under. That type of VIG, 10 cents corresponds roughly to about 0.1 win. And once you've indexed about 50 cents, you're asking players, you're basically saying that's about half a win. And what we're going to guess is this total going to go up, get bet up? Is it going to get bet down? Or is it going to stay within about 25% plus 25 cents plus or minus, which is to say that it's going to close somewhere in the ballpark of half a win from where it currently stands. So they got it right effectively. And I think, from memory, at least, it's usually about a third, where you see third get bet up, third get bet down, and the third kind of close right around the number. And
is there a reason for that, Drew?
Sure. Yes.
It's almost like, are there a finite number of wins?
Yes. Yes.
And we're already, above that threshold. We should add this up at the end.
Oh, what are we at, actually? That's a great question. I didn't even add it up. I'm at, I have a total, how many wins are available before I tell you what my total is?
So there should be 272 wins if there are no ties.
Okay. You sum it all up and we're at 274.5. So we have a 2.5.
It's not that bad.
It's not bad. Well, it's circa, so they're not fucking around.
They're raking people over the coals.
Yeah. So we're at 274.5, and so there's a blind edge to the under because 274.5 is not possible. But overcoming the VIG is a different story if you're making 32 bets. So don't do that.
Please don't.
Okay, so is it pretty clear how we got to the numbers that we're evaluating in terms of VIG, or do we need to explain that a little better?
No, I mean, without getting boring people with the math, it's just basically like, hey,
it's just a conversion.
Over under 8.5 -110 both ways is not the same as over under 8.5 with -150 plus 130. Those are two different numbers. Essentially, you're almost at 9 wins at that point. So
we're basically saying 8.5 -160 is essentially 9. Yeah. Right. And they index on juice for lots of reasons. There's some that are indexed past 160, by the way. They're not inclined to drop the Patriots from 5.5 to 5, even though to get an under on Patriots 5.5 right now, it's going to cost you -190. So that's it.
I do have one more question for you before we get into the meat of this. Because we talked about what moves this, the sentiment from people with money, people with respect, services that release these, volume. And the volume thing is kind of sticking with me. Is there, we have legal betting in 35 states. Is there enough public volume that, like, these darling teams, enough people are wanting to bet on football, and that some of these darling teams are going to take enough $50, $100, $200 bets across, 2/3 of the country at this point.
Yeah.
And, even the sharp services or the sharper books who maybe aren't taking that same volume are going to have to adjust a little to the market. Just be like, I don't think Circa Mind's getting arbed. Circa just wants volume. They're fine with it. But at a certain point, you don't need to get your brains arbed out on one side. So you do wonder if there's just going to be enough volume on some of these darling teams just from public money to make a little bit of a dent.
Yeah,
I think the answer is probably yes on some of that. Yeah,
of course. And I think four of the totals have been bet over so far. You're not going to believe what the highest mover is. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. In Circa in Las Vegas, taking lopsided action to the Raiders over. Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, I think they tell us that every time. Hey, who you got liability on this year? The Raiders, the Vegas teams. Like, it's kind of that way every time.
little more than one tie per season the last 10 years. Says
Oh,
Mo
that's
Filter.
cool. Okay, so we actually have
Yeah, there's been a couple years
we actually only have 271 then to work with, is what you're saying.
Yeah, let's call it 271 for a number.
Okay. All right. So again, the ground rules are: we're going to read out the current total. We're going to go from high to low. We're going to predict whether this stays within half a win. Plus 0.25 minus 0.25 between now and when. Let's when we grade these, and we'll do a follow-up pod to this as we are kind of right in the meat of the regular season, or right in the meat of the preseason. Let's grade them around that time, because that'll help us avoid preseason injuries. So we'll get maybe a little bit cleaner. Yeah, we did well or we did poorly in terms of anticipating movement. So preseason week 1, we'll circle back on this. Sound good?
Yeah, let's alternate guesses first too. And yeah, Beat Gamer, you do get 2 ties in the records, but you're only taking away 1 win.
Yeah, right.
Because both teams couldn't have won the game. So it does, it goes onto both teams' records, but you're taking away a loss and a win at that point. So it just knocks us down to the 271. Yeah, I went 16 times 17, because 17 weeks and 16 wins per week.
Yep. Sure. And everybody gets a bye.
17 games, everybody gets a bye. That sounds right.
I think you're right. All right. So we're going to start with the Kansas City Chiefs, who are your top win total right now at 11.5. Technically, it is 11.5 with over juiced minus 105, under juiced minus 115. This one's an easy one for me, but I'll let you guess first. Andy, does this get bet up? Does it get bet down? Or does it stay right where it is?
Tough one right off the bat.
Yeah.
They kind of probably a little higher.
You think it goes up?
I'm thinking it goes up. They actually have an easier schedule in my numbers here. It's a high number though. Yeah.
We agree.
So I don't see, there's a limited ceiling when you get to these higher win totals.
Sure.
It certainly could go to a juiced 11.5 or 12.
There is a limited ceiling, Andy, but we talked about this when it comes to win totals. The bunching of win totals relative to the actual spread is not the same. Like, you will never find a season where you have the correct amount of bunching. There are always teams near the top that overachieve. There are always teams near the bottom that underachieve, that take the spread out. And I think in general, like if I had to guess, I think Chiefs closes around 11.8. So we're kind of on the threshold of where I would say it's a hold, but I'm going to agree with you. I think we go up. Good deal.
Simpatico. All right, number 2, you guess.
The Niners are right now in 11.3, and I'm using a little bit of kind of reading between the tea leaves already here. I think this is going down. And I think the Niners are going to get bet against a bit as we head into the season, because number one, people are going to rationalize some of the changes on the roster, which I don't think are necessarily positive. People are going to, kind of absorb how much more difficult their division is this year. And I think that this is going to be a team that gets bet against in the win total market. It opened at 11.5, and it has come down a smidgeroony to 11.3. So I think it closes around 11.
We almost need like the sheet, like the newlywed team, where the second person holds it up. Like, yes. I agreed, because otherwise it's just gonna be like, oh, we're just agreeing to agree. No, I'm with you there. Okay. I mean, I'll go quick because we got 30 other teams. Like, a lot of my reasoning there is the respect that teams bettors are going to have for the other teams in that division. Seahawks, new coaching regime, and just the Rams being the Rams, even without Donald, and obviously a little bit of a bump for the Cardinals, adding some skill position players. Yeah.
Okay. The next up is the Ravens. The Ravens right now are a flat 11, although you do have to pay 115 if you want the under. And there was a lot of people that looked at the schedule and they thought this was going to be a schedule from hell, but they gave them a bunch of rest advantages, and that's kind of that turned out to be the schedule is more of a shrug. Has not been touched since they opened pre-schedule. Thoughts?
I think probably neutral. I still think it's a tough schedule. I'm not a big net rest guy. I mean, I can't remember who did this. Maybe it was Sharp Clark. Somebody just added up all the rest days. And like, if you add up all the rest days, just like a different way to look at it, which he was being a little specious, I believe, but it's still like,
it's like, oh my gosh, these guys have 181 and these guys have 205.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was like 117. 116,
okay.
114. Like there was like a 3-game difference or 3 days between the most and the least. Like there's essentially no difference. A lot of it is close to the same. So I'm not a big net rest advantage guy with how good teams are, especially a great team like that who's really good with the analytics. I think this one stays about the same because the schedule is pretty tough as far as
what else is funny. You can have a minus 14 rest advantage, and it's just because your bye gets neutralized, and then you're playing 2 teams off a bye, and that gets you to 14, right? But that only impacts 2 of your teams.
Teams aren't great off the bye.
And what if those 2 teams are the Patriots and the Panthers, right? Then who cares? Like your win probability on those games went from 80 to 75, whatever.
We got a message of the day so far from Alessa here. She bet the under on the Seahawks because of the coach, Mike McDonald's. He's a McChicken, not a Big Mac. I don't even know what that means, but I like it.
I guess, are we expecting Mike McDonald's not to be leaning into the analytics? He's a McChicken? He's going to punt on 4th down? Is that what we're saying? I mean, he comes from the Ravens, which is a very analytically friendly organization. I don't know about it.
That's another we need like a big questions to answer podcast. Because I think it's worth reading up on some of the, once we get a little deeper into this, reading up some of the local reporters who talk to some of these guys and see. But I'm neutral on the Ravens.
Yeah. Real quick on the rest disadvantage thing too. We didn't mention it around the Niners or the Ravens, which are both teams that have been broadly talked about. But the number of games matters, and the Niners isn't just a big net negative. It's a lot of games, which is kind of wild. Like that was the Chiefs situation last year. You remember down the stretch where they had a small disadvantage in every game in like the last 6 weeks of the season. And I don't know if ultimately that got them in the 3 seed or whatever, but dropped them out of the 1 seed. But they clearly are trying to test certain teams that way. And don't think it moves the needle on win total that much though. All right, the Bengals are up next. They are currently a 10.6 win team. The 10.5 is now 10.5. If you want to the under, it's plus 105. There has been some takers to the under. It has shifted about 10 cents, I think. It was plus 115. It's now plus 105. I don't get it. Why somebody came in and took those prices. I mean, I guess the AFC North is tough. If you add up the wins in any division, the North is the top right now. I think they're expected to be the best division in terms of total wins. Somebody, it was actually plus 120. This was plus 120 under 10.5. Somebody came in and nibbled. It's now plus 105. My guess is that the way they opened this 10.5 minus 140 the over was doing a little bit of shielding to the over because I think the Bengals are a little bit of a hot team, I would guess. So ultimately I think this is a neutral, but it's just because of the way they shape the market. What do you think? You muted again.
You made the joke about like, it's just, when does Burrow like have a, an emergency bacchiotomy this spring or summer?
No, not a bacchiotomy.
I need a bacchiotomy. I'm going to go up on this one.
Okay. You think it goes up?
Yeah, I can see the heat.
Okay, you can talk me into that. Up. Okay, because I thought it would go up, but again, like you had to lay minus 140, right? Like if you're bullish Bengals,
based on
are you laying minus 140 at 10.5 wins? Or are you playing coach of the year or AFC price or AFC North price, right? Like I think there's probably going to be a little bit of a kind of better way to work your money.
We have to think about this as we go too, because like at this point I've already thought like I'm probably gonna have to pick Steelers under at this point because I mean in a division where it's a little jam packed like that, one goes up, something probably gonna have to go down, and honestly for me it'd probably be the Steelers at this point.
Okay, so you think Bengals goes up? I think there's a warm feeling about the Bengals, but I think there's other ways that people are gonna put their money to work. on pro Bengals stuff. Interesting that the Bengals are expected to be the 4th highest win total across the board and the 3rd highest in the AFC, basically, less than half a win below the Ravens. That doesn't square with all the prices that you're seeing in the market. I'll just leave it at that. Dallas Cowboys, 10.5. Is that going up or down?
It's the Cowboys.
Yeah, everybody that comes into town bets the Cowboys over.
Yeah, it's a America's team, right?
Okay, you think sentiment is warm
still,
on the Cowboys?
Do you think the Dak deal gets done? Sidebar. I don't either.
I don't think at all. I think he
I'm
might
not-
be
I'm
on
not-
another team next year.
I'm not sure it matters. I'm not sure it matters for betting purposes. Honestly, if you said like him not signing a contract, is that better or worse for the Dallas's upside? I'd probably say better. Like I'd be looking to it's contract year time, baby. I need to be perfect this year. I'm gonna go get 50 mil a year next year from God knows where. Somebody's gonna have that money. That checkbook. Look what Kirk Cousins got.
Yeah,
Dak can certainly get that contract. Probably
Yes,
a couple
he
more
can.
years.
yeah, he can.
I'm probably neutral on it. It's Dallas.
Okay.
Which, I think you got two fights for me. You got Dallas, which the public love to bet the Cowboys. They have a lot of fans. Everyone loves to cheer for them. They're, the fans across the nation, but also like I'm not warm and fuzzy based on the situations on either side of the ball right now. They're going to try to do some, reconfiguring on the offensive line with some pretty young players. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So neutral.
Okay. You're neutral on Cowboys. I'm not going to fight you there. I think market sentiment is a little cool on them from the players who matter. But 10.5 is not an especially high number. That's a very talented team. They might have one of the better defenses in the NFL again, even though they lose their D coordinator. The question is really just the O-line, and there's some fragility there. So if I'm betting the Cowboys, I'm waiting, holding my patience, and I'm firing into some alt unders or just betting against them when you get opportunities. So, all right, you said neutral for Cowboys.
Yeah,
I forgot to write it down. Neutral. Okay. The Philadelphia Eagles are 10.4, and I think this team is going to get bet up. I think this is going to close around 11. I think they could close the gap on the Niners and end about the same win total, both of them around 11 by the time we get to the regular season. I think there's a lot of reasons
I can't fight on that. It's funny. Like I'm just going to say like the first thing that pops into my head when you bring up the team, because I'm not looking at this list.
Sure.
I have a general idea of where we're at roughly, but you could have said Dolphins there and I wouldn't have been surprised. They're probably one of the next teams in the next few. I would agree up, and a lot of it, again, it's the anti-Niners thing. I think there's a lot of negative sentiment around the other 3 teams in that division. I think we're probably going to still be low on Washington. Like they just don't have the right roster. They have a very big unknown at rookie quarterback. There's so much negativity around New York right now. And then obviously Dallas with their new, their fragile state of that team and roster. So I'm up on the Eagles just based on who they're playing. And obviously they have a very, very talented wide receiver room and possibly a very talented, coverage unit. And they kind of got both defensive backs that fell into their lap in the draft. And honestly, if you're going to go learn from some people, like Slay and Bradbury could do a lot worse. So they might, those are very important positions outside of quarterback and tackle, like being able to throw the ball, catch it, and be able to stop other teams from doing it. Like they get those 2 things right and just get the same amount out of Hurts as they got. They can be pretty good. They're going to win 12 games, man.
That's not crazy. I think there's a chance that they probably underperformed Pythag wins last year too. Like they might be a team that people bet on Pythag win stuff. They definitely are a team that lost. They lost a decent amount injury wise on the defensive side, and Hurts played to hurt all year last year. So I think they could get a little bit of a nudge from those bettors as well. Lions are 10.4. Surprisingly that the Lions are the 4th choice right now in the NFC, but they are 10.4 wins expected. Up or down? or neutral.
No, I'm neutral. And again, it's hey, they're still darlings, but I don't even know if they're the third. They're probably the third biggest darling in the division. Like people are very high on Green Bay. I think the market's going to be hot for them again. And even if it's at a lower level and a lower range, people are going to be hot for the Bears.
That's not crazy at all.
So
Okay.
I'm neutral. It's kind of like Dallas. You're fighting two different fights there.
Yeah. Have you done Pythag win calc already?
I'm looking right now to see if somebody just did it for us. That'd be nice.
Did somebody do it for us?
23. You want to guess what the Eagles Pythag win total was?
The Eagles in 2023, they won 11 games. I'm guessing their Pythag. Was it? Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't realize they had won 11 games. I guess
they had a negative.
So it's probably like 10, right?
9.1.
9.1. Oh wow! So they're a big minus Pythag. Oh, well, I want to change my answer now. I think the Eagles are going to go down then. Interesting.
I'm still out.
Their Pythag was 9.1. Interesting.
Just points given up.
Oh, they got blasted down the stretch.
Yeah, they gave up a bunch of points in the late season.
Yeah. They lost 42-19 to the Niners. Not good. Not a good result for you.
All right, I'm going to leave this chart up so I can just announce it while we go then.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to neutral on the Eagles from goes up. What about what was your lines was neutral? No disagreement. Buffalo Bills, they are 10.2. I'm guessing that their Pythag is going to say good, although
their Pythag is 12.06 according to this.
Yeah, compared to how many wins did they actually have? They were 11-6. So
yeah, I'm in one chart here. I might be reading bad Pythag numbers, guys. Who knows?
Okay, that's all good. I didn't mean to throw that wrinkle into the mix, but
it's a good thought for next year, though. We should have had that.
Yeah. So the Bills get bet up, you think? Too many losses. People just blind betting into their under based on the skill position group being weak. I don't really think there's. I think they're probably neutral. Long tail. I think they're long tail over.
I think they are too because they still. It sometimes doesn't matter. Like, go look at who's your favorite non-Kelsey receiver on the Chiefs. It's the guy that's going to jail.
Yeah.
Probably. Like it was this guy more. That's the thing. Like sometimes it just doesn't matter if you have the quarterback. If this coaching staff, has a little bit of a bump, they get some things figured out in the defensive secondary. They don't have a massive cluster injury in coverage. Sometimes it's not going to matter. Like, hey, here's a rookie from Florida State, and here's God knows what, and Shakir, and we're going to make that work and win 13 games. I'm fine with them being a long tail the over. I'm going to put them in a neutral, though.
Okay. You're going to leave them neutral? Okay. I got it for neutral then. You think there'll be some fighting over whether they should be upgraded or downgraded, but I think they're long tail over. Jets are at a 9.8. We are, interestingly, there's a minus 150 ask to bet the over on the Jets right now. They made minus 145 on the under for the Bills, minus 150 on the over for the Jets. So they're doing a little bit of shielding. If you know what shielding is. Bills, they're shielding Bills under, they're shielding Jets over when the win totals are pretty damn close. Totals. They could have put them both 10 if they felt like it, but they didn't.
Yeah, 10. And sometimes that plays into the psychology of
course,
especially some public bettors. Like, you're gonna bet over 10, get plus 110 on it, or over 9.5 minus 150.
Yeah. No.
One of those looks a lot less appealing, even if they're pretty damn close.
Yeah. So I guess, do you think it actually, the number itself moves to 10? Like, are they take enough of a impressionable bet that they move they don't index there? They actually move the number?
I'll go over on the Jets. It's just too good of a roster to be listed this late.
Yep. Okay. Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to be under in Miami.
Yeah. Green Bay Packers are right now at a 9.8. Some respect right there. The Lions were at 10.4. The Packers are at 9.8. They are one of the teams that has been bet over so far already in the 1 week we have had these numbers up. It is not because of their schedule. People just can't get enough interest in this Packers bet. And honestly, you know what? Somebody laid minus 135 and they said, yep, give it to me. 9.5 minus 135, give it to me. And I can see this continuing to be a team that gets a lot of buzz this offseason. 9.5 is a low enough number that you're not going to scare anybody from playing.
Yeah, it's going to be a hot team.
Biggie.
Double-digit wins. That's not hard. Yeah, it should be a hot team this summer. I'll go over.
Yeah. They changed. Did you hear they changed defensive coordinators finally, Andy?
I know. Okay. I read something I wrote last summer about like the Packers. Yeah. I bet the Packers to win the NFC at 35.
I got to tell you what, man. There's also like a whiff of a big release on Packers over 9.5 minus 130. Like somebody finds a stale price when Circa's got it minus 145.
145, yeah.
Yeah, and they it gets.
It's funny. Like that was my whole like. God, I think this team has like a really long ramp to being good offensively. And like what ends up stopping this is just a Joe Barry masterclass and shitting the bed.
Yeah.
And it's we kind of got there. It sucked because that's a team that, they were damn close to getting the NFC title game.
Yep.
And yeah, people will be on them for sure. All right. What's up?
Did I say up on Packers?
Yes.
And you tell me what you think of the Atlanta Falcons, who are at 9.7.
Boy, people are going to want to be hot on them, but man, I feel like eventually we're going to get to the summer and realize like, if you want to go like, let's build the summer narrative around some of these teams too. The summer narrative is like, hey, this Achilles injury is fucking a real injury.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down on the Falcons.
I think we're at a local high for the Falcons price. Yeah. It's shielded to the over at minus 140. And I think that's because everybody knew that the schedule was going to be easy as, soft as baby shit. And it was. And
dog shit.
But that said, the Falcons are not a very good team. And they have a new coaching staff and they have a question mark at quarterback with health. So I agree with you. I think this one is one where people take, you're going to give me plus money on the under 9.5. Take it. Give it to me. Down.
That's where you bet under 9.5 and division champs.
Yeah, the idea that they win the South with 9. Based on, if every other team hits their number, they win with 9. That is absolutely true. I think the next best team is the Bucks at 8. A flat
something
8.
I've never really properly executed outside of the NBA, which again usually weren't my bets. They were just me following people who are smarter with me than with basketball, but. A team like that, I don't hate taking this under. Actually betting this. We're not betting all 32 of these. We're guessing, guys. If you joined late, we're just guessing where we end up before week 1 of preseason. Yeah. But after this team starts like 0-3, they have these in-season win totals, like middling a win total. Maybe that's my goal for the summer.
Ooh.
Finding one where it's like this is an under.
You know what it is? It's probably the Steelers.
Oh, I don't hate that.
Because the Steelers ends with an absolute freaking anvil dropping on their heads, like Acme and Looney Tunes style. Did you see that schedule?
Steel joke.
Oh my God. The Steelers have the most lopsided schedule in terms of win prob that I've seen in a long time. It's a wild one. All right. So yeah, play there. You play there. I don't even really feel like middling. I just want they're under, but you can wait for it. Yeah. Okay. The Texans. Hot chat.
Did you see they announced that Steelers get a draft now?
I did. 2026.
Your opinion on holding the drafts in like cold weather cities?
They had it in Detroit.
No, it's Detroit. It's going to Green Bay. It's like we used to. I mean, I guess it used to be like New York, but we did Vegas.
Yeah, that would just happen in Vegas every year, honestly.
You just hope like April, because April can be kind of shitty up here sometimes still.
Yeah.
We had 1.5 foot of snow one time on May 2nd, like 5-6 years ago. So I'm just worried that one of these drafts and these cold weather things is just going to go to absolute shit. Hopefully it's the Green Bay one.
Yeah. So Houston is your next up. They are 9.7. And I think this is a pretty obvious neutral because I think this is going to generate two-way action at 9.5. I really do.
It does feel like volume public money comes in over.
Yeah.
Smart money keeps buying back on.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a good team, but it's hard to win 10 games in the AFC.
Yes, especially because the AFC South is not to be trifled with, honestly. So I think this one's a neutral.
There's a decent case to be made that Tennessee could be an okay pesky team to play this year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without question. And their win total is quite low. We'll get there. The Dolphinos are 9.5ers right now. Reports in camp mini camp that Tua has shed weight, Andy. So he's going to be faster. I don't know. The guy didn't have mobility anyway. Why in the world does he want to shed weight? Whatever.
But he didn't get hurt.
He's going back to the fragile Tua, I guess.
Thick, that extra cutaneous layer.
Jiu-jitsu thick Tua. Yeah. 9.5. You think this gets pop? Yeah. I mean the losses to the roster and the turnover is non-trivial. So I agree with you. That will go down. The Chargers. We're in the first half of this exercise, Andy. And the Chargers are 9.1s. You think it goes
This
down?
is probably, you know what? I'm going to leave this as a neutral because it's still low enough with a hand. If I said what I said about Buffalo, I should be able to say the same thing about the Chargers. This is a high-end quarterback. This is an upgraded head coach, even if you feel like his, some of the stuff he says or does might be a little antiquated. He's a smart cat. It's just kind of a rough roster. So I'll go neutral on this one.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that too. It's a big number and they are shielding the shit out of that under. It is minus a 160 to under 9.5 right now. So I think they're not really interested in writing those bets, which is fine. The Bears shielded a shit to the over. They are 8.9. This is the third team we have named from the NFC Norse. The Norses are sick this year in terms of wins. The Vikings are not. But the Norses are up this year. A lot of enthusiastic Bears fans, I think, come through Vegas. So the fact that this is shielded to the over, I don't think reflects necessarily the sharper player defense, but more the volume defense that they just want to write a juicy bet to everyone who wants a Bears ticket. I'm excited to see what Caleb Williams closes for MVP. Because that'll get bet to a number that's so hilariously bad.
Remember when Trubisky got, after his good year, the next year Trubisky got bet to 15-1.
Justin Fields was top 7 last year. I think he was. I think he was.
You know who's going to be 4th in the MVP market once we get to the season? It's Stroud.
Yeah, he already is, isn't he?
He's up there already, I would assume.
I saw some rec shops that he was basically coin flip with Mahomes at the top already.
Really?
Jeez, yeah. I'm not kidding. I've
been looking at rookie stuff so far.
Okay, so the Bears, I do not think make it to 9. I think that they are happy to write these bets at 8.5 minus 160, and I think it stays right where it is.
I'm neutral. Yeah. They knew what was coming and they started this one high enough. I think so too. The powers that be that set some of these early markets did a good enough job.
Oh, hell yeah. So far, every single way, everyone that opened aggressively shaded, I'm like, yeah, good job. Good job. You're going to write your June action into minus 160 numbers. You did well. Good job. The Rams are 8.5s, and that is shaded over aggressively. It is 8.8 as you do the math out to the exact number. 8.5 minus 150 to the over, plus 130 to the under. And I kind of have a sentiment for the long tail under because of the absence of Aaron Donald and the defense being a giant step backwards. But there's a lot of people that really believe in this offense, and the offense is pretty loaded with healthy weapons. So this looks like a two-wayer to me, and I think it maybe closes 9, but I don't have strong conviction that it's going to move all that much.
I'm with you, but I'll disagree on one just because we haven't done a lot. I'll go over.
You think this goes up?
I see the narratives around this is just It's a better
Mixed
coaching
bag.
staff.
They might have been the second best team in the NFC last year, Andy.
They kind of were. Like if you watch that team in the playoffs or late season, like this was.
They were very good.
My power ratings had them.
Dude, did you see first Sunday night football is Lions Rams?
Just a shade behind Detroit. In week 18 there. Yeah, like, this is a good team. This is a really good offense, and that matters a lot more than losing an all-world Hall of Fame defensive player. But there's a lot of good young defense that they've put together. So I'll go over here slightly.
Slightly. Okay, goes up.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're right about this. McVay was a coward versus the Lions. I don't need any playoff wins to cash in over.
God, I'm just excited to see Rams Lions week 1, man.
That's a fun game.
Football.
That's a fun game.
The entire week 1 slate is just tits.
They did a good job.
The whole week 1, it is the tits. The Cleveland Brownies. We're ways down the list, and we're at Browns. Surprise you?
I think there's still so much uncertainty about the health of Watson, and that matters a lot.
Health of Watson.
Well, the health and the skill. Even when he's healthy, is he ever going to be
any good anymore? Yeah.
Is even a shadow of what we saw, and kind of his peak, his peak was like 5 years ago now. It's starting to get. There's starting to be a little bit. It's not just like, oh, he sat out a year, whatever. It's starting to be a little bit of time between what we saw peak Watson and what we have now. It's still a very good roster, very good coaching staff. I'm neutral. Yeah, I don't think I think where it's sitting's fine. That it probably won't catch a lot of under money. If I had to lean, it would be under because of the division. But
interesting. If I had to lean, I think it's over. 8.7 is the total here. It's minus 135 over, minus 150 or plus 115 under. And I think there's definitely like a narrative to be spun about what they did in the offseason being pretty positive. And
that's what I'm saying. It's a good
long
roster,
tail over. Yeah.
But there's a long tail to the under if the quarterback isn't good. You don't have Flacco to bail you out this year.
Yeah. Again, like think about
I got bailed up on like an all-world 38-year-old run.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know how the super sharp folks originate quarterback uncertainty bands, but you got a big one on Watson, which means if he does this thing, there's probably an 8.5 win team. If he hits the high end, then you're in great shape. So I think this is going to be a long tail over bet, but I'll leave it. I'll just put neutral. I'm not strong enough disagreement there that this goes to 9. The Jacksonville Jaguars is 8.6, relatively flat. So this is one where they threw up an 8. They threw up middle of the win pool and relatively even juice, and will say, you tell us, is this a team that's worth betting on this year, or is this team going to underwhelm again? Big old yawn for you.
Boring topic. This Jags one. Like, I don't think anyone's that excited about the wide receivers, or that excited about Trevor Lawrence, or that excited about the coaching staff, and certainly not that excited about the defense. Like, this feels like a like not only a neutral, but a low volume neutral, where it's like, have we written any Jags bets? Not really.
No, I guess it's the 8.5. Even big was right.
Another 8.5 sounds like,
yeah,
boo, like that one lady.
Yeah,
steal the show.
Yeah,
she'll vote. She'll take the over, but
okay. So the Colts are in the same exact boat. 8.5 minus 110 on both sides. So this is even more square. Colts going to finish over 500 this year, Andy, and does the betting market believe in them? They do surely have an easier schedule than their AFC South brethren.
And Pittman just got hurt today.
Oh, did?
Yeah. Who knows how bad? He just got shook up and he limped off, I guess.
Really? I didn't see that. Oh, that's an important one because they don't have a ton of depth.
I don't think I've done enough neutrals yet. Like, this is probably another one where it's probably pretty good. I'd say long tail over, just because they saw glimpses of high end, athlete at quarterback that was kind of doing a lot early on, trying to figure out the system. So maybe slide over here, but I'll stick with neutral.
Okay. It looks like the Jags were a 9-win team that was projected to win 8.7, and the Colts were a 9-win team that was projected to win 8. So these were both Pythag dumpers, not darlings. The Pittsburgh Steelers
dumpers, not darlings.
Pythag darling and a Pythag dumper. Okay, so Pittsburgh Steelers are at 8.1. This is an over-under of 8, juiced minus 120 to the over, plus 100 to the under. Kind of can't believe they're giving you a plus money under on these guys. I think this is going to get bet under. I don't really know what the people who are betting over are. I don't really know what the people who are betting over are kind of telling themselves, honestly. This Steelers team kind of stinks. I don't even know what the bull case is for them. Their schedule is absurd.
Dumper.
I'm saying it. Their Pythag wins total last year, Andy, 7.9. That is a -2 delta. This is a Pythag dumper. No, I mean I think this is I don't think that this closes 8. I think this gets bet down to 7.5, and I think it could go lower.
Yeah, it's fading Tomlin finally.
It could be. And it's like, it's weird because like they're better in the trenches. They're, people are going to put good numbers together for them, but like, you really going to believe Art Smith in today's NFL with this quarterback room is going to surprise you. And I think the long tail to the under problem is that if Russell Wilson isn't working out through 8 weeks, Andy, you're going to put Justin Fields against this closing stretch where you're playing.
And then you got to find a new kick return
playoff teams in a row.
It's a domino effect. The special teams coach is going to be pissed. So then you're sowing discord among the ranks. Oh man, I don't know how.
Tomlin on the rocks. Really,
that's interesting. Like, I think last year we were just aghast when they pulled the plug on Russell Wilson, and It was like, well, now we know what's coming, and I still can't believe he did this based on what you're paying him. Like, the Steelers could pull the plug on Russell Wilson week 4. Doesn't matter. They're not paying him anything. They got him on the absolute cheap. They're not married. They're barely dating. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibilities much earlier than halfway through the season, Drew, because they kind of took a flyer. Like, he's a late round flyer for them at this point based on who's paying his salary. Yeah. So, yeah, that's interesting. I think they have a long tail, but man, they are pretty decent in the trenches. They have a good pass rush. If Russ works out, I think they're a long tail both ways. I think they just have a wide distribution, and I'll call it neutral, even if you're going to call them a dumper.
Okay. I just think it goes down. I think that this one has whiffs of like every every person who does a media hit all year. Like it's so easy to like point to the end of the season schedule.
All I've heard is Russell Wilson can't throw over the middle. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yeah, he's going to set a very high mark for checkdowns in this Art Smith option. I know this Art Smith offense. I mean, who's he even throwing to? George Pickens? Is there another wide receiver on this team that I'm forgetting?
Where's Deontay Johnson at now?
He is in Carolina.
I was going to say, I want to say Jacksonville for a second. I mixed up my 96 expansion team.
He is a Panthero now. The Pittsburgh depth chart is George Pickens, Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson out of the slot. And then your second lineup includes Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller, and Calvin Austin III.
I don't hate Scott. I think Denzel Mims is on this team.
Good thing Art Smith doesn't throw to his wide receivers, Andy, because you ain't got any.
Yeah, you got a good tight end in Freiermuth.
If he's available.
Actually, they have good running backs for receiving as well. It's going to be like Jalen Warren.
I'm pretty convicted that that's going down.
You know who's on this team too? You know who their third? Look at their third running back.
Is it Justin Fields?
It is Cordarrelle Patterson.
No, they brought in CPAT for
why not?
He still got some juice in them old legs. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sitting at a flat 8. We are well down the list, and this is a team that is just a hair under 500. Baker Mayfield is back. Dave Canales is gone.
That matters.
What do you think the sentiment Neutral. Okay.
It's pass like that. You're fighting the Baker. Can Baker do it a second year versus Canales? Probably mattered a lot there.
Okay. The Sea Chickens and McDonald are up next in Seattle, and they are a 7.7 right now. And it's minus 135 to the over. I think it goes up too. I think it probably is.
I can see people
I
talking.
don't know that I really want a part of it.
8-9.
This is one of those where I feel like my sentiment might say bet Seattle under, but I think it's going to go up. So I'm going to wait. Does that make sense?
Middle of the pack strength of schedule. They don't have the best rest and travel stuff because of where they're located.
Because they're in the Pacific Northwest.
They never do. They understand how to get they understand what they're doing. They know the assignment. So I'm fine with this.
So you think it goes up? You think it goes up? Okay.
I can talk myself. The hottest young, one of the hottest young coaching there.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get Ben Johnson hired anywhere, so it is the hottest coaching hire.
That's right. This one's an interesting one. What is the market sentiment on the Aints, who are currently 7.7? This is shielded to the over weirdly with the minus 130 to 7.5. What is what's your expectation of how the market will treat the New Orleans Saints?
Man, this has got to be like a bottom 5 strength of schedule.
It has to be.
Yeah. And their travel's never bad because they're centrally located.
Just a bizarre roster too. It's fully bizarre.
It's a weird,
monumentally lame duck coaching staff.
Yeah,
this is the lamest. This is the lamest of Ducks coaching staffs, right?
Yeah, Jesus, this is probably a neutral too. Neutral with a lean to the under, but you know what? It's an under bet, but the strength of schedule is kind of like propping it up. But look who they're playing, man. They might win 8 by accident because it's not. It's not completely devoid of talent. You said it right. It's not a bad roster. It's weird,
bizarre, elite skill position players, garbage
honestly,
quarterback.
Third running back is like Kendrick
terrible
Miller.
Offensive line, or really incomplete offensive line, incomplete D line, no pass rush, old as shit linebackers.
Big problem.
Yeah,
but between Olave, the lesser St. Brown. I already mentioned Kendrick Miller ahead of him, Jamal Williams, Alvin Kamara, if he's healthy.
Shaheed, you didn't even say Shaheed.
Shaheed, Taysom Hill, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau. This is an elite tight end room, kind of. As far as like, if you want to run some weird personnel, why even put wide receivers out there?
Right.
33, is that a thing? That's too many players.
That's too many.
There's too many players.
Too many.
One of them's playing quarterback at that point.
Well, Taysom Hill probably is playing quarterback.
There you go.
I think
23 personnel.
Direct snap it to your tight end, Taysom Hill. I think that might work better than whatever Derek Carr is.
Yeah, I'm saying the strength of schedule is going to prop it up. Leave it neutral.
All right, neutral. 2-way action on a terrible, weird, incomplete team with a lame duck coach, but an easy schedule. The Raiders. The Raiders opened up as a flat 7. They are now at 7.2. This is one where the schedule came out and people went right up to the counter and said, "Give me the Raiders." Been waiting for this all spring. Let's cash out some Celtics series bets and put it right on the Raiders. The 7.2 doesn't make a ton of sense to me that we're going to see anything positive about the quarterback situation this entire offseason cycle. I think people are going to have some hard questions, or at least as people kind of rank and synthesize the quarterback situations, I'm guessing the Raiders are going to be the second to last or third to last team, right? Just in terms of quarterback rating. And that's not going to square necessarily with the 7.5-ish win expectation. So I think this is coming back down, but they might just leave it where it is.
I'm fine just saying 2-way. Everything you said, reiterating.
Yeah.
The quarterback situation's bad, but the skill position players not horrible. You wearing shorts or just no pants at all? What
Me
going on there? I've seen
shorts.
A leg.
Shorts. Okay. Yeah, it's short weather here, buddy.
I
got some khaki hybrid shorts going on here. Comfortable as hell, man.
I got a quick it's nice out story. A quick
lay it on
interlude here. So up in Minnesota, we're in zone 4. So you got to plant some of your plants indoors.
They've been in the zones. Are you keeping up with that?
Yeah, I am. But I'm still in zone 4.
You're still in zone 4? Okay.
Yeah. So you have to plant some of your plants indoors. It gets the soil temp isn't right. It doesn't stay warm enough overnights. So I planted 4 kind of plants indoors, and I commented on this. This is where I wonder if like the computers are listening to me.
They are.
So the four plants I planted in little things, and I had to like mark it with markers so I remember which ones were which, are Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, and green cabbage.
A lot of cruciferous.
They all come up every single plant. I thought at first I almost thought I fucked up. Every single one of those plants looks identical when they came
They're all
up.
cruciferous, aren't they? Cabbage
Well,
may not be, but the other ones are.
2 days later, on your For You for Twitter, I get some random post about like plant breeding. And it was like, hundreds of years ago, they took wild mustard with certain traits and they showed those exact 4 plants. And this is where I worry about the AI and the machines taking over.
So
I'm not even sure I said it out loud.
Andy, when I Google cruciferous vegetables, representative species, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts.
I know, but I got like a data viz thing about it on my Twitter. Like I didn't even think I said it out loud.
Right, cruciferous vegetables are in, but they're also out because there are like specific diet accounts that'll tell you that the harder stuff to digest is not good for you.
I like to give my GI system a workout.
Get out. I'm not taking it easy on the old gut. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. You can take my Brussels sprouts from my cold dead hands. Oh my god! I got this glaze, this balsamic glaze. Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next team?
This one's interesting. So the Arizona Cardinals were a 6.5 shielded like a motherfucker at -165 on the open. Right? Just bad opener, honestly.
4 wins last year. Pythag was probably 5 or 6.
Do you want to know what it was?
5.5.
It was 5.4. Yeah.
They had some games where they scored a bunch. Some of it was late, but
this one's gonna get bet over. This one's going to going to 7.5. This was a bad opener, I think.
I think people are going to talk themselves into it.
Yeah,
I'll ride with you on that.
Yeah,
no
I think so.
Comments.
All right. The Vikings have been a Pythag dumper, Andy. People have already been dumping on your poor Vikings. And I think some of it may be just not loving the early portion of the schedule, which I think kind of sets up for sacrificial lamb Sam Darnold, JJ McCarthy,
crazy hard schedule.
Throw him into the mix early, right? Like, isn't that kind of what it looks like?
Yeah. The Bears are good. This team they're in hell. Like, it's a bad. We've talked about it's a good landing position for JJ with good offensive line, good receivers, good coaching staff. It's still a very tough transition to the pros, and this is a tough schedule.
It is.
They're a dumper. It's a dumper for me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So under 7 was plus 100. It is down to minus 130. So this is the biggest delta of any of the openers, besides the Patriots, who I think have a slightly bigger delta. But yeah, do you think it continues to trend down, or was the early money already made its already made its statement?
Let's make Minnesota neutral.
Okay.
Because they did their dumping.
Okay. The dump has come. Yeah. Now they're just going to write unders at minus at minus 130. Okay. The commies are 6.6. So it's a little bit of opened as a coin flippy 6.5, and it's still a coin flippy 6.5. I think there's going to be sentiment on this team from some portions of the market. It felt like the Commanders got bet every week last year. Don't you think? Don't you remember that? Like, it felt like they were a hot team last year.
It was like they were getting some decent, handicap numbers. And but what they win last year? Like four games, man.
Last year, the commies
they had a top 3 pick.
Their expected win-loss was 4.3. So yeah,
I'm neutral. Like they have the tail isn't so long to the under because there's just not that many ways to lose more than 17 games. But it's a wide spread, I believe, and it's all based on how quickly the quarterback comes around. Okay,
the Gigantes are 6.3s right now. This is a team that you can get a 6.5. If you want a 6.5 over, we'll give it to you for plus 110 here. Minus 130 to the under. I think this goes down. I don't think this is. I
I
don't think
want to
this
say
team garners much
neutral, but
support.
there's so much negativity in the market around this team
Yeah,
already. So yeah, we'll go under. We'll go squad
I think
under.
this goes down. This is one of the. There's a handful of these teams at the bottom that we know again, like just people betting on you're going to be the team that spreads this out.
Yeah.
I think the Giants are in that mix. I mean, and the Giants kind of like. Here's the other thing about the Giants being a long tail under team. If it's not going well, they're going to play Daniel Jones at the end of the season. Hell fucking no. Hell
Drew
fucking
Lock
no.
season.
Drew Lock might start 13 games for this team. It's not crazy. And I mean, obviously that would be pulling the plug way too early, but between starting the season and them being out of contention early, like this team just might not be a ton of fight in them this year. And they have many holes. So yeah, lots of reasons to doubt the Giants, I think. The Tennessee Titans are 6.3, same as the Giants, similar situation, although there has been somebody did come in and they placed a wager on the over for the Titans at 6.5 because it was plus 125 and now it's plus 120. That's a tickle.
I'm gonna make them an over team.
You think that's going up?
I don't like the roster, but like people can talk themselves into this roster being good enough it's a middling division. It's a lot of up and comers, but I mean,
yeah.
Maybe Rudolph starts some games if Levis just doesn't kick, but like Hopkins has tread left on the tires. Ridley's a 1 in some spots. They have who's their tight end? Okonkwo. Man, looking at this running back room, Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears.
Yikes.
Slight over. I'm not as married to that as I was.
Tyjae Spears is probably going to end up doing a good job. He's pretty good. Okay, so I think I agree with you. I think that'll go up, but not a ton. I think it'll go up just enough to check the box that you got that one right. The Denver Broncos are 5.7s. So right now you got to lay the juice to bet over 5.5 for this Broncos team. Seems like you're going to get news at some point that Bo Nix is the guy week 1. Am I dreaming, or do you think Stidham wins the job? Just like and what is Sean Payton's like? He's got long-term security. They invested a lot of capital to bring him over, and they just drafted a quarterback that they now need to develop. Like this is going to be Bo Nix week 1 to week 18, right?
Yeah, this is a tough schedule too.
Yeah,
the easiest part of their schedule is like, well, maybe the Raiders don't have a quarterback either, and we split that series. But yeah, I'm on the under here.
Okay,
even low numbers go under.
Down. Okay. This one this might blow your mind. Are you ready? The Carolina Panthers are next at 5.4. The interesting part about this is they were shielded to the under on the open. They hung a 5.5 minus 150. This was your lowest win total team from Jump Street. And it got bet up. Somebody took the plus 130s. They took the plus 125s. They took the plus 120s. They took the plus 115 dandies. Then they took the plus 110s. Like this is potentially a 5-tap over on the Carolina Panthers 5.5 for some reason for somebody, or it was just a bet that they this guy beats our brains in yearly. He made a bet on the over. We better move this aggressively, which either somebody with high conviction or somebody who's very good bet this over. Does that surprise you?
Yeah,
Do you get that?
The price is
the
cheap, and
easy?
Well, that's the thing. The schedule is. It's not the top 5 easy or something, but it's definitely on the right side of the easy middle. And yeah, the Eric Eager effect, guys. Joking aside, I do believe in the Dave Canales narrative. If you want to go like this moves on narrative, like hey, he fixed Gino, hey, he fixed Baker. This is his toughest project yet in a world where a tiny quarterback needs to get his shit figured out. One man. And the Dave Canales fixing the quarterback position to some level to get them to a spot where they, they're not embarrassing. They don't need to win a lot of games. I don't know if Legette's going to be anything. I don't know if I like Deontay Johnson in a new spot, but It's young. They have some defensive players. They get a new coach. I could buy it being an over.
Okay, so this might have
Have
been
we
released.
picked any overs in this division? We have to pick some overs in this division, I think.
Well, I leaned over in the Bucks,
Saints?
but you called it
Oh,
a
Bucks.
neutral.
Yeah. I'm a neutral-ish.
But the question is it going to go up anymore, or did the move come? Because some MILF hunters keying us in. This was a release.
Rats doesn't have a Discord.
No. Our Discord. Somebody was saying this was their release. I think.
I know. I'm making
I say our Discord like I'm moderating it, by the way, which I am not.
The Deep Dive Discord brought to you by Cool. Board in the Mountains.
Cool hat, Andy. All right. I guess I'm a little surprised that this was that early, this early and this aggressive betting Carolina Panthers.
Fuck it. I'm going to say more.
You think it goes up more?
Right. It doesn't
Canales
need to move
effect.
that much.
You going to bet Canales Coach of the Year? He's probably a long ass price.
Is he?
He's got to be a massive price. Let's look at it. Let me see. I bet you it's 20-ish to 1. I mean, if somebody's this convicted that they're going to overachieve, then at that point, you might as well just get weird and Canales Coach of the Year. Because, I mean, if the Panthers do anything this year, he's going to be in the mix, if not the clear choice. It's been a while since we had a team that – it was 2 years ago when the Giants were expected to suck, and they did very well.
God.
I'm
not seeing much for Coach of the Year awards. I got MVP.
Coach of the Year, Dave
player.
Canales. He's 16 to 1 at Bet Online.
Yeah, I'm seeing 16 to 1 here at Bodog.
It doesn't really move the needle.
Your
for me.
favorite, Raheem Morris.
Whoa!
We're putting the weight of the world on Kirk Cousins to win Coach of the Year in Atlanta.
I
guess Atlanta already won a title this year. They won the Europa Cup. I think that
they also got the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. They won the lottery too, Andy. They won the lottery.
Talk about a shitty year. We do any NBA because anytime we've talked about NBA on here, we've been so wrong. Like, looks like it's going to be the Knicks. Looks like it's going to be the Thunder. Looks like it's going to be the Nuggets. Weird. You have a team you want to curse in the NBA playoffs right now?
I've cursed them all. I guess
like it's gonna be Dallas, guys.
Yeah,
Dallas
no chance the Timberwolves. Yeah, it's tough to see the Timberwolves blowing this game. Honestly, they're playing great offense right now. All right, man.
Tough to see this game going under.
The Patriots have been the most aggressive team bet under, even more than your Vikes. It is a team that opened 5.5 minus 145 to the under. And it has been bet down to 5.5 minus 190. The writing is on the wall that this will be, they can't index it anymore. They can't take anymore. They're just going to move this to a 5, I would guess. Does this deserve to be lower? And do you think it continues to trend down, Andy?
Which Bond movie is that has that writings on the wall? The Sam Smith song. I mix up all the new ones. Quantum of Solace, maybe.
It was the Sam Smith song was on the one after Skyfall with the voodoo stuff, right?
The voodoo stuff was definitely Live and Let Die.
No, there was another weird.
They did 2 voodoo ones. Yeah, I haven't seen some of the new ones.
It was. I don't think it was No Time.
You know what I read when I'm in the airplane?
What's that?
The Sky Mall.
And that was a good Adele impression. Actually, that sounded like Adele,
very Adele-esque,
very Adele,
Ruben-esque. I'm fine with this thing. The moves kind of come. I think the moves come and gone.
Okay,
so
you think
we'll go
to
the
neutral?
Just for my money, I'm not super psyched about the coaching hire. I know they love him there, and he hasn't done anything wrong in my eyes. Like, he's saying the right things. I just don't love a coaching hire that quick. Like, hey, let's not even go look around. Like, why would we go buy that? We have that at home.
Writings on the Wall, performed by Sam Smith, was on the Spectre soundtrack, which was the voodoo one. Yeah, Spectre. That had Monica Bellucci in it, I think.
Craziest Bond song is there's that
The Madonna one, I think I'll die.
Well, the Madonna one's not bad, actually. It's the
a weird
Carly
one, though.
Simon does one. Nobody.
Oh yeah, that one is really
That's just
insane.
out of the. Like, it doesn't fit with all the rest of them.
Well, they beat they
Spy, You
march
Love
to the
Me?
beat of their own drum. They do some weird ones.
Oh, do you have a take? We have a question now that we're through.
Yeah, I think you have a strong opinion on this. You put your money to work in this market.
From like 2018, it's Cillian Murphy.
You're alive. He's the favorite right now, isn't he?
Have you seen? Are you a fan of Mad Max Fury Road?
Of course.
Will you be going
Mad Max
to
Fury
see
Road?
one?
I could do a full like. This is a clear top 5 movie of this century so far.
Just really, really well done. Long action.
Fury Road, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you improve it. It was pretty much a perfect movie.
Speaking of Cillian Murphy, I think one of my favorite actors is probably Tom Hardy. I haven't watched anything.
Pretty bummed he was a jackass in that on set. Yeah, I like him too.
Like I don't like reading that sort of stuff, but he was so good. He was in Peaky Blinders. He was just so good as that character. I mean, remember the name of the character. I'm very pumped to see the new Mad Max. And I bitched about IMAX on the internet today, but I will go see it in IMAX because it's the only way to see one of these big action movies. You pay the $19 and go watch it on the big screen with the loud volume.
I dig it, man.
Okay. I do like the original one, so it's crazy seeing Mel Gibson as
for sure
a 20-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good franchise. I'm excited to see them too. Okay, man, let's call it a show. That was very fun. I'm saving this spreadsheet with all of our predictions for, we'll say, like, I don't know, want to revisit it like August, like
Hall of Fame game.
A Hall of Fame game. Great call. Okay, we'll revisit this with the Hall of Fame game, see how we did, see if the market agrees, disagrees, how much of a mush am I? We'll answer all those questions at the Hall of Fame game. With that, here's the outro. I don't know how they blow this. Can't see it happening.
I just need the over.
See the Panthers already up 2. Panthers already up 1-0.
Who?
Come on, one right on.
I didn't even realize.